Welcome back to City Foodie Farm. Yesterday I took you around my garden and showed you just a couple things. I weeded yesterday and I feel like I can show you a couple more. So if you're new to my channel, I never thought I would create a channel. Sorry for that interruption. What I was saying is I never thought I would create a channel, but it's been fun sharing my passion, not only with my blog, but also this channel. So please subscribe and come along as we create and dig in the dirt. Let's go. I just love walking into the garden in the morning. The birds are chirping and the sun hits the plants just right. So this is the growing area I'll be showing you today. This is our thyme. And we have marjoram and parsley. In this pot, we have rosemary and purslane, a weed you can eat, possibly. Here is our epizode and our chili grande pepper, our Amish paste tomato plant, our yellow pepper, bell pepper. Here's a variety called Super Fantastic. This one's a champion variety. Here's our jalapeno, our habanada, and our early Annie, our basil plant. And I've added some seedlings. I added a couple serrano peppers. They're really small. And the habanada and the serrano are two that we grew from seed. They're really small. I hope they survive. This one's a cherry tomato, sweet 100, poblano pepper. This one's another chili grande. And this one's a Berkeley tie-dye, I believe. Another basil plant. A beef master. And a jalapeno. Extra tomatoes that grew. And more basil. And here is the Whopper tomato. In this pot we have tarragon, our chives, and in this pot we have tomatoes, peppers, and leeks. This one's a green bell pepper, our leeks. And this one is my favorite. It's a sweet pea. It's called something different. This one is the Mexican midget tomato, or sweet pea variety is what I call it. They're tiny, tiny little tomatoes. They're so good. This one is a sun gold tomatoes. They're little tomatoes. More leeks. And then we have red bell peppers. Here's our bay leaf plant. Love growing these. Here's our walking onion. Our blueberry plant, it survived. And our sunflowers that I planted. And here's the next bed. Here's a big boy tomato. Some leeks. Our tomatillo. And we have some random tomatoes that grew. This one's another big boy, so a big tomato. Here's our eggplant. I love this variety. This is a fairy tale eggplant. And here's those beans. If you watched my last video, you know all about them. Here's a banana pepper. It's sweet. Here is a jalapeno. And the next bed, we have our garlic patch. And we planted some broccoli rabe by seed right next to it. We have our cauliflower and then our celery that we used from our kitchen scraps. Here's our rhubarb plant. We have 2 of them. And calabri, it's kind of hidden. But here's that celery. It's looking good. Okay, we're going to the next beds. We have beets in here. We have lettuce, microgreens, radishes, white radishes. We have some peas growing, some peppers, some of those seedlings. These are the habanadas. They're really small. We have some onions from last year that came up. And here's some serrano peppers. They're very small. And we have potatoes. These are like a fingerling potato. I just had these potatoes that were kind of going bad, so I planted them. Here is our peas, and they are growing up. Can you guess? My kids' spring from their crib. We created a trellis. I've held on to this because it's obviously sentimental. And we attached it to some wood and attached it to the bottom of our planter box. So that will now be part of our garden. So there it is. Now I'm going to take you to my upfront garden, as I call it. I took out sod right in the front of my front landscaping, and I've added a bunch of plants here. I've got some Roma tomatoes and a bunch of squash plants, a butternut and buttercup, some spaghetti squash varieties, and I also have some zucchinis. I have, I believe, a yellow squash and a regular zucchini. Some of my stuff has been eaten. Like this one, my kale plant. This upfront garden has 2 sides to it, so I kind of repeated the same plants, but here we put pumpkins in instead. And I put them really close together, thinking that some would not make it, and I would just pull them out. But I also have some more squash varieties in here. And I also planted some zucchini. I added some tomato seedlings. And then here's some of my cucumbers. These are my pickling cucumbers with more tomatoes. And here's our corn patch. We are trying the 3 sister method, where you have the corn, beans, and squash. And as you can see, I need to weed this area, but we've had some trouble with the corn coming up. So I don't know if this is going to work, but stay tuned. I'll be giving you an update to let you know once it starts growing. Here is that bee garden. If you've watched the previous video of how to make your own wildflower garden, we planted this a couple weeks ago and we already have flowers. And everything else is coming up nicely. And I will also keep you updated on this garden. Here's our peach tree. Last year we got 1 peach. This year we have a handful that are starting. And our apple tree, we have never had so many little apples starting. I can't wait to see what happens with this one. Okay, now I'll bring you back in our backyard where we grow vegetables also. Here we have some lemongrass in this pot. And here I planted some sunflowers. Here is some herbs. We have our sage, our oregano, and Thai basil. And we have some dinosaur kale, some cucumbers again. We have our yellow squash, crooked neck yellow squash, and our zucchini. And there's a fence I kind of put up for the rabbits. I'll definitely be taking that down. In this bed we have carrots, peppers, and tomatoes. The first one is a husky red, so small tomatoes. Here we have a jalapeno, a cilantro that grew by itself, some carrots. We have poblano and a Roma. The carrots, we have some multicolored carrots. Here's another La Roma. Here's another Chile Grande, more carrots. This one is a Serrano and a Jubilee. It's kind of like a yellow, bigger tomato. More carrots. Here's a big boy, big tomatoes, and a jalapeno, more carrots. Here's a cayenne pepper and a pink girl. And down here is the kale that we grew from seed. And see that little opening? That's where our bumblebees live. BB. I don't know if you watched my other video, but we talked about BB. Here is our cucumbers. They will run right into the yard. And then there's our kale. And there's our zucchini. We have a zucchini, and this is kind of, here's our asparagus. But over here, I'm not sure if that's zucchini or a cucumber. So one mystery plant, and our irises. And in the garden right across from all this, we have some mint that came up. We planted some fennel, and that's about it. We do have a project going on over here, which I'm going to kind of keep it a secret, but it's some exciting news. But thanks for coming along, and subscribe so you can watch everything grow and hopefully learn something. Gardens are so much fun when stuff starts to grow and when you can harvest your vegetables and cook with it and preserve what you grow. So until next time, happy growing.